Good morning, it's Lorelei with Radiate Life with Lorelei and Blooming Families Creating New Possibilities with Lorelei. And I am located at LorelaiBrogan.com. And I'm just coming in here. I had a really sweet little cute thing that happened with my husband and I today. And we've been meditating together, and it's not something that we've done. We used to meditate on a weekly basis because for 10 years, my husband and I and 3 other people held a loving kindness meditation at different wellness centers for 10 years, the same one for 10 years and different ones too. But anyway, so that's how we started. We first got married, the first 10 years of marriage. Every Friday we hosted an event, and there was a group of us that hosted, but we went up until the time that things shifted. You know how things always shift. So we had shifting, and then we went to the meditation together. So a different event in Chicago. But I wanted to come on here today because we started meditating again. And one of the things that we're doing now when we meditate is we actually are recognizing that when I come together in that state of meditation and he comes together in the state of meditation, that we will actually sit next to each other, and often we'll feel to reach out or to hold hands together, which is something we never used to do. And one of the things that we do notice is as we're holding hands, we feel the energy in our hands. We feel different things that are going on within our hands. And we also do a lot of reflexology. That's part of our daily routine is reflexology and foot reflexology and hand reflexology. And he's gotten us into watching the meridians. I'm a massage therapist, although I've done much more energy work than everything than actually doing that. But I am a licensed and certified massage therapist, and I had quite a bit of training. And he really has a fascination, and it came because he had something going on with his neck a couple of years ago, and with physical therapy and everything, he just saw either I'm going to do something myself. Here's the fork in the road, do something myself, or I'm going to be going down that road of other people we know that have had operations and things. It's not going to get better, it's going to get worse. Left alone, it will only get bigger, it will only do worse. So he started going down this path of, all right, what are my alternatives? What can I do? How can I get out of pain, and how do I stay out of pain? And that's when he discovered meridians. That's when he discovered different videos and different movement. And it worked. It got him out of this nerve pain, and he does the. For a while, he was doing his right, like all of us. You get hurt, then when you're hurt, you're like, okay, I'm never going to get hurt again. And you do your exercises, you do the things you need to do to keep in alignment, and watch your stress, watch what you're eating, your exercise. Engaging in creativity and handling things right away rather than letting them fester. And then he noticed would come back, and then he'd go back to doing the exercises. Well, that prompted us to this year. 6 months ago, everyone had a stay-at-home order, and he's a school teacher, began to teach at home. So again, it gave us the opportunity to do yoga together. It gave us the opportunity to garden together. We combined my Zen medicine wheel space with his garden space, and so I sang and I played with the plants all summer. We had an amazing time combining my Zen meditation wheel and his garden together, right? So we created together, stayed in nature for hours and hours and hours together. Now he's back at school and he's teaching, but we've kept up some of these things like the foot reflexology and the massage, and there's some other meditative tools and exploration that he and I have started doing together too, is like expanding our intuition and playing a game of Jeopardy with the universe, going into meditating and touching things that are beyond higher frequencies that we've touched before, and coming into, what is that? And usually the game goes like this, is that we'll meditate and then I'll stay in a relaxation state, and then I'll go in and I'll look for things, or I'll investigate how things are going in our house and stuff like that. It's a little bit like I'm scuba diving and I'm going into the waters, and then he stays up top and is looking at the monitor and like bringing me back and giving me, pinpointing the coordinates and that, right? It's a really good team. So this morning, I went to say hello to him, and I closed my eyes, I had a really big hug, and it's like that meditative state. When we come together, it's like we give each other that hug. It's just like we just melt into each other. It just takes us into that universe space. And that's what happened this morning. I think part of it is because he was working from home this morning and the kids didn't have to go to school, and so it was more leisure time and it was more meditative time. And I have my spiritual practices I do, and it was kind of like weaving in and out of what I was doing. I closed my eyes and I saw this form, and it was movement. So it was interesting because it was kind of like, it was more feeling something. It was a shape and it was movement, and I knew I could see just part of it, but there was more to it. And so I asked him a question. And I'll tell you what it was. I'm like, it was the shape and it was kind of almost a circle, but I knew there was more to it. And I was like, what's a Mobius? And so he takes out what's Mobius? What is that? And I said, I have this picture. And so, being the science teacher that he is, he took a piece of paper and some tapes, and he showed me what a Mobius is. He says, like they use a Mobius belt on a car. And I was like, he showed it to me, and he showed me the motion. I'm like, that's exactly what it is. But I didn't consciously know what Mobius is. I don't consciously know what that is. But I had that's the Jeopardy game, right? So I had the shape and the movement, and then I had a word, and I don't always have a word. I was like, "Ooh, that is really exciting." So, yeah, it's so amazing. So I just wanted to share that with you, and just keep meditating and keep exploring, and do a meditation, but then go into a contemplation. All right. If you have a set meditation you do that. And then allow yourself another extra 20 minutes, or an extra maybe 6 minutes, an extra 12 minutes, an extra 21 minutes. So then you go in, when you're in that frequency, you're in those higher dimensions, then you receive information for yourself. You give yourself some insight. You say, okay, what about me? It's my turn. I got to make myself really strong. I got to fix any, no leaky boat here. My physical being is a strong, sturdy ship to take me anywhere. Okay, no leaky boats. And really, really play with it and enjoy it. And if you need to press the restart button, then that's what you do. If you feel overwhelmed by missed opportunity or things that have gone on, then see if you can start over. See if you can do a Ho'oponopono prayer. See if you can, literally, I draw a line with the kids. I drew when they were little. I'd like, all right, we're starting over. I draw a line like hopscotch, and I have them step over it. I'm like, okay, this is it. That was then. This is now. The starting now. And one of my kids, they do it quite frequently, but it really works. A number of years ago, they're like, Mom, can we have a do-over? Can we start over? Like something happened and it didn't go, he and I, and anger and frustration and all that, it didn't go the way either one of us wanted. And he'd be like, can we have a do-over? And I'd be like, okay, let's do a do-over. So we go, okay, so we do over and we do it again, and we do it the way we wanted to do it. And last night my husband and I went out, and we had forgot some of the things that we needed in a rush to get out of the house and drop our kiddo off at work. And it was funny. I'm like, now that rewind button on our remote of our life would really come in handy about now, wouldn't it? So play with things like that, right? I call that play, but they're powerful. They're powerful acts of play to remind you get a do-over. It's your world, and you get to write the script. You get to write the world. And don't leave yourself at home. Bring yourself with you wherever you're at. So continue to enjoy what you're doing and stretch yourself, just like lifting weights. Your frequency is very much like lifting weights, okay? It could be a good metaphor that you cause yourself to, yes, flexibility and adaptability and agility and stability, right? And sustainability. Those are all qualities within our health and within our life force, right? And keep moving. And balance is not. Balance is a continuing momentum forward. Balance is not static. Balance is active, right? So it's more like the bicycle. You think of balance: left, right, forward, forward. That motion has to go left, right, forward. That's actually the kind of motion that comes with it. And it's easier to stay in motion than it is if you get off your bike and then you have to get on and start over. But if you do, go ahead and do it. Do what you need to do. Do the smallest thing you need to do. If you have felt really depressed, and now you're completely fatigued. And if you stand up to get ready to do something and you still feel fatigued, even though you know you slept, maybe not slept well, then that's a time to do forgiveness. Then that's a time to clear some things up, come back at it again, give yourself permission to paint on your blank canvas. Always by serving others. That's another good way too. Not getting caught up into you're only valuable if you help others, but that you always can do something for another person. A prayer for another person, for an animal, for, lots of opportunities this time to give of yourself energetically, because it counts, to do a random act of kindness, all these generative things so that you see your value in your world. I love the work of Byron Katie, Loving What Is. I have like 2 different versions of that. So I have 3 different versions that basically get to the same thing. The other one is listen to yourself. Don't edit yourself and don't hold yourself back. But really allow yourself to speak freely with yourself and write down what you say. Because I just witnessed how powerful this is the other day. One of my first spiritual teachers, and I lived with my first spiritual teachers, so they were around me all the time to give me lots of great feedback. They would be able to, they lived with me, so they'd be like, okay, the lesson that we covered regarding what you say about other people, use that as a tool to see, reflect back. Am I feeling this way about me? And especially if it's something limiting. We notice a limit in someone else for a reason and find out what that reason is. One of the reasons that we're noticing it could be is self-awareness through self-reflection. I kind of did a drive-by one day, meaning I was like walking by a conversation and I happened to know a lot of parts of the conversation, not all of the conversation, but I could see a pattern that was at work, right? When you work in a workplace, you see, these patterns play out within people and their relationships and your work environment. And so in this work environment, what I noticed is somebody was saying something about another person, and I'm like, it was exactly like the kinds of things that are going on in their life right now and the kind of places where they're getting stuck. They were very, very upset about this person who was stuck, and they named why they were stuck. And I'm like, oh, I remember where I learned that. It was like my first spiritual teacher. And it's a tool of self-awareness and self-reflection, and it's really helpful when you're stuck in the moment, but you can't, it's more challenging if you're like stuck, you're agitated, you're like, your body is like in fight or flight mode, right? Somebody said something and all of a sudden you're fight, flight, or freeze. Actually, that it's fight, flight, or freeze. So your nervous system is already, red alarms going off. That's a harder place to learn it, but you can still be useful here. And so basically it's like you write down the thoughts that you have about other people or what you say to other people, and especially, again, it's Wayne Dyer. We talked about this before, as Wayne Dyer said, an orange, when you squeeze an orange, you get what? Orange juice. And so when the world squeezes you, whatever comes out of you is what's inside of you. It's not what's over there or within someone else. You might see it in someone else, but that other person is a mirror for you. We live in a holographic world. I had a dream the other night, and in this dream, there was a clear window, and there was a woman. She was trying to come in, and she was trying to show me something, and she was very angry. And it was really interesting because I could see her, I knew what she was doing, and I just walked away. And that clear window directly relates to something that I've been working within myself, and something that has become a part of a great spiritual practice of mine, right? So it begins with this part where we're willing to say, this is my domain, and that's what I've said, this is my domain, no one else gets to come in, but I have clear windows so I can see and I can observe and I can decide what I'm going to do. Right? So that was like an external energy. That window was me having self-awareness to the energy that was coming around me, but it was not coming through me. It could if it needed to, right? That would be okay if it needed to. There's reasons why that happens. But it really, really, really started with my first spiritual teacher giving me a great tool of self-awareness that really helped me, and it helps me reflect back on my kids, and reflect back as a teacher too. Because when someone sees something in me as a teacher, and I've said this before, not like, oh, did she show up on time, and did she give me the full amount of time, and not logistical stuff like that, because I 1,000% am responsible for the energy that I show up with, and that I bring to the table, and that I bring to my clients, and I bring to my classroom. But let's say there's something about me that reminds them of someone else, or a number of things. It's going to be easier for my client to have a healing with me, projecting that onto me, because I am me. And because we're here for a healing situation. And because I allow my kids to say things like, oh, you did this and it caused me to do that, and I don't like you because blah, blah, blah. So that I can hear that, so that I can listen to that, so that we can really have a sacred place of listening to each other. So it's the same thing one-on-one with coaching, and having that sacred place. So you can really say, like, what did you mean by that? Because that really irritated me, or whatever it happens to be. It's like there is substance there, and if we can come to a place where we can both unravel that and take a look at that and see where all those energies come from, then having that trust and building that place is really important. Because I'm paying it forward, because I've had teachers, I've had mentors that have done that with me. It's like an energy is an energy, Lori. We have other existences together. I've had to clear other existences with mentors of mine, peers of mine, certainly my kids, right? And certainly my husband. Probably first 10 years of marriage was of us reliving, other things in which we hadn't been able to completely complete in previous experiences together. And probably the next 10 years was about, okay, now we did that, now, and raising kids. It's like, now, what's the best that we can do here? How are we parenting? How are we putting this ship together? And now, after 20 years, it's really comes full circle. Even though we are raising kids, it's coming back to that personal and self-discovery, like, okay, we're starting over again, and this time we're starting at a higher frequency, and this time we're starting more connected. This time we're using our superpowers, our intuition together as a team, and it's so exciting and so amazing, and every step along the way has been completely worth it, and I'm so looking forward to more. So keep doing that. Be on the lookout for the different meditations that I share and ideas that I have to get into the frequency and the energy, because that's really what it's about. When we talk about meditation, it's just really, it is a reason for you to change your frequency, all right? And once you shift out of the frequencies of the world and start getting more and more into your own, then we really live in an amazing time where we have instruments, and we have all kinds of music that's available to us, that is, people are saying, here's a higher frequency and here's a different frequency. So we're really training our body, mind, and spirit how to move into these frequencies, right? To align higher, to align to a higher degree. Was going to close with this, but it was Einstein that said that this energy that created a problem, that same energy cannot be used to solve that problem, right? Much like they say, if you're working on something and you're in it, right? You're really hyper-focused in it, that you have to step back and you have to take a broader view to be able to change your lens, change your perception, and then refresh, and then come into it with fresh eyes. And basically what it's saying is, you've bottomed out or topped out, you've got stuck, you're bound up. And when you shift out, give yourself a break, breathe, change the relationship, change your breathing, you change your frequency, then you align higher, changing your frequency by aligning higher. You bring that frequency back to the level that you were at, or the frequency, whatever the energy of the problem or the solution or project or whatever it is that you're needing to address in that moment. It shifts. Why? Because you shifted. And you can always shift every situation. You are that component that's everywhere. Happy shifting. And I love you all.